Welcome to Brainish English Stories.
In a small village near London, there once lived a widow named Mrs. Darcy. Her husband had been a clever businessman, and Mrs. Darcy was now quite wealthy from the money he had left her. She had just one child, a daughter named Hazel. Hazel was a lovely girl with many talents. Mrs. Darcy loved her deeply and always wanted the best for her. She gave her daughter whatever she wanted, but she didn't realize that Hazel had become spoiled. The years seemed to fly by. One night, Mrs. Darcy looked at her daughter and saw that she wasn't a little girl anymore. She was 18 years old, a young woman ready to get married. Mrs. Darcy arranged for Hazel to marry a young man from a wealthy family in another village. She then began to prepare for her daughter's wedding. It was a tradition that the young woman would gift property and money to her new husband. Mrs. Darcy prepared all of this with great care. She wanted her daughter to go to her new home with pride. Mrs. Darcy also began preparing her own special gift for her daughter. She went to the most expensive store in the village to order a wedding box. The box would be covered in bright blue silk and would have a lion sewn on the top. It was believed that a wedding box with a lion on it would promise the birth of a strong and smart son. This would be Mrs. Darcy's special gift to Hazel on her wedding day. However, it was very hard to find anything that would please Hazel. Anything her mother bought had to be exchanged or returned to the store. When the box was ready, the family servant brought it home from the store. Hazel didn't like it. She looked at it with a cold expression and said, "I don't like the lion. The design is all wrong. Take it back to the store." So the servant went back to the store, told them what Hazel had said, and ordered a new box. But when he brought the second box home, she was still unhappy. The colors were too light. A third box was ordered, but this also didn't please her. At last, the servant got very upset. He cried, "I can't do this anymore. Last time, all the people in the store laughed at me. They told me I'm difficult to please, but it's not me. You are the difficult one. You're never satisfied. I'm afraid that if you don't want this box, there's nothing I can do. I'll have to leave and work for another family." Although Hazel was spoiled, she was not a bad person. She started to feel sorry for the servant. He was an old man and had been a loyal servant to their family since before she was born. So she agreed to keep the box and told him to go back to the store and pay for it. The servant was grateful that she had changed her mind because he didn't really want to leave the family. He went back to the store, paid for the box, and gave it to Mrs. Darcy so she could fill it with gifts for her daughter. The 18th day of the 6th month arrived, and it was time for Hazel's wedding. Hazel had been looking forward to this day for many months. Her excitement grew as she watched her mother prepare all the wonderful gifts and her beautiful wedding dress. But she also felt sad because she knew she was going to leave her mother in the morning. Hazel's mother helped her put on her gorgeous wedding dress made of the finest white silk. After that, Hazel was brought to her wedding chair, the special seat used to carry a woman to her husband. She sat on her wedding chair, and curtains were drawn around her so that she could not be seen. Then, for strong men carried the chair on their shoulders. Mrs. Darcy lifted the curtain and spoke to her daughter one last time before she left. "This is your special day, my daughter. You look so beautiful. I'm so happy to see you get married to such a handsome young man. Here's my gift to you, a wedding box. But Hazel wasn't really listening. She was too busy thinking about her wedding and wondering what her husband, whom she had never met, would look like. She kissed her mother, took the box, and put it by her side. A few minutes later, the 4 men came, lifted the wedding chair, and Hazel's journey to her new life began. As they reached the main road, it began to rain. Soon, it was raining so hard that the road became a sea of mud, and it wasn't safe to continue. So the men carried Hazel into a shelter at the side of the road to wait for the rain to end. Hazel was annoyed by the rain and eager to get to her new home. Then she heard something. Was someone crying, or was it the sound of the rain? She opened her curtain to see. In the shelter next to hers was another wedding chair. It wasn't as nice as hers, and it had old, torn curtains. And yes, the crying was coming from inside the old wedding chair. This only annoyed Hazel more. Why is this woman so sad on her wedding day? This could bring me bad luck, she thought. So she sent her servant to find out what was wrong with the girl. The servant came back and told Hazel that the young woman was very sad because she was poor and had nothing to take to her new home. Hazel then felt sorry for her. She realized that she had always had everything she wished for, and that this girl had nothing. She was even more sad because it was her wedding day. Hazel didn't have any money with her, so she decided to give her the box. She called her servant again. Here, take this to her, but don't tell her who sent it. Don't tell her my name. The servant tried to stop her. But Hazel, this is your wedding box. Sure, I don't care. Go give it to her, quickly, Hazel ordered. The servant did as he was told, and quickly went to give the box to the girl. Immediately, the crying stopped, leaving only the sound of the rain. Soon the storm ended, and the men picked up the wedding chair to continue their journey. Hazel had given a stranger her wedding box without knowing what her dear mother had put inside. In a few hours, she arrived at her new home, and the marriage took place. She found out that her mother had chosen well for her. Her husband was a wonderful and handsome young man. After 2 years of marriage, they had a beautiful, healthy baby boy. Hazel felt like she was the happiest woman in the world. But after 8 years, something terrible happened. A flood hit their area. Hazel and her family lost their home and everything they owned. Everything got destroyed. So she finally had to accept defeat and travel with other people who were going to a town called Greenwich. It was a long, difficult journey, and Hazel was devastated. She didn't think she would ever see her husband and child again. Life was hard when they first reached Greenwich, so everyone tried to help each other. One day, as Hazel sat exhausted and alone on the road, a woman came up to her and said, "You look terrible, and you must be hungry. You can find food down this road. Harry Lee, a wealthy businessman, has put up a tent, and his servant is giving food to people who have suffered in the flood. Go now. I'm sure you can get something to eat there." Hazel thanked the woman and went to find this place. When she got there, she found a long line of people holding plates and silently waiting. Hazel had never done anything like this in her life before. She had never felt so helpless. As she stood there holding her plate and waiting for her turn, she had to stop herself from crying. Finally, her turn came. Harry Lee's servant put the last bit of food into Hazel's plate and then announced to the rest of the people in the line that there was no more food left and they should come back tomorrow. The person behind her began to cry. Hazel turned around and saw an older woman. When she looked at this woman, she remembered her mother. She thought of how much she loved her and how selfless she had been. Without saying anything, she put her food into the woman's plate and walked away. She couldn't stop her tears now, and they ran down her cheeks until she could hardly see where she was going. The servant watched all of this. He was very surprised at what Hazel had done and ran after her. As she was walking away, Hazel heard him shouting, "Ma'am! Ma'am! Please stop!" Hazel stopped and turned around. The servant then asked her why she had given her food to the old woman. She said, "I'm very hungry, but I'm also young. I can endure my hunger for longer than that old woman can." "Well, you did a very selfless thing. My employer, Harry Lee, is looking for someone like you to take care of his young son. Would you like to do this job?" "Oh, yes, thank you," Hazel replied, feeling happier. "Then come with me now," the servant told her. He then took her to Harry Lee's house. When Harry met Hazel and heard the servant's story of her great kindness, he offered her the job immediately. He then told Hazel, "My wife is an amazing mother, but unfortunately, she has been ill for some years. This is why we need someone to take care of our young son. You will have freedom in this job, but there is one place you must never go. That is the small house at the end of our garden. It's my wife's private place. If I ever find out that you've been inside, you'll lose your job immediately. I hope I am clear." Hazel agreed to this and began her new life. She liked the little boy. However, it didn't take long for her to find out that he was very spoiled. He wanted everything immediately, and if he didn't get what he wanted, he cried and cried until he did. This upset Hazel because it reminded her of how spoiled she had been as a child. She now regretted how badly she had behaved. One day, Hazel and the little boy were playing in the garden when his ball went into the little house. The boy started crying. "I want my ball." "Go and get it," he shouted. Hazel told him that she wasn't allowed inside the house, but the boy didn't care and just cried louder. She tried to make him understand again. "But your father doesn't allow this. If I go in there, I'll lose my job," Hazel said. But the boy didn't listen. His face was red and wet with tears. He started screaming. Hazel finally gave up and agreed to go inside. She looked around to make sure no one could see her, then quietly walked to the house, opened the door, and stepped inside. It was a calm and peaceful place. She slowly walked towards a small table. On the table, there were some books and old pictures of relatives. And there, in the middle of all this, was her wedding box. She couldn't believe what she saw. Hazel remembered her wedding day and how happy she had been. She thought of her mother's love and kindness. She thought of her husband and her son and how much she missed them. She had everything, and now she had nothing. She started crying. Suddenly, someone touched her shoulder. Shocked, she quickly turned around and saw a woman's angry face. It was Mrs. Lee, the wife of her employer. A young servant girl was standing behind her. "What are you doing here?" asked Mrs. Lee angrily. "I'm so sorry. Your son's ball came here. He was very sad. He wouldn't stop crying. In the end, I felt I had to do as he asked and get his ball for him. Forgive me, please. I know that this is your private place," Hazel replied. "Why were you crying?" asked Mrs. Lee. "Because I saw this box, my wedding box. My mother gave me this box on my wedding day, Hazel said. Mrs. Lee was shocked. Where are you from? She asked as she picked up the box and sat down on a chair. Her voice sounded strange. I'm from Ashwell, Hazel replied. What was your name before you were married? Asked Mrs. Lee. Hazel Dosey. Mrs. Lee didn't say anything to Hazel. Instead, she ordered her servant girl to bring a chair for Hazel. The servant wasn't happy to bring a chair for another servant, but she did as she was asked. Mrs. Lee then told Hazel to sit down on the chair. Hazel was surprised by this royal treatment. She didn't understand, but she was afraid to speak. And when did you get married? On the 18th day of the 6th month, 8 years ago. Mrs. Lee was silent for a moment. Her face looked very strange. Tell me, how did you lose this box? She asked. Hazel then told Mrs. Lee about the terrible rainstorm on her wedding day, the old wedding chair, and the sad young woman. Suddenly, Mrs. Lee went down on her knees in front of Hazel and started to cry. You saved me. Your kindness on my wedding day took away my worry and brought me so much joy, she cried with joy. All these years, I've been praying for your health and happiness. When I got to my new home, I opened your box and found many expensive things inside, including this beautiful piece of emerald. She took a piece of bright green emerald out of the box and showed it to Hazel. When my husband and I got married, we didn't have much money. I took this emerald to the jeweler and received a huge payment for it. That allowed us to start a business, which made us very rich. As soon as we had enough money, I went to the jeweler and bought the emerald back. I've kept it in this box since that time. I didn't know how to find you. I've always hoped and prayed that we would meet. I'm so grateful that now I can thank you with all my heart. So please, take your box. Your mother must be a beautiful person because she gave you such a special gift on your wedding day. Hazel cried with happiness as Mrs. Lee put the box in her hands. Mrs. Lee then spoke again. I know that your husband and son are missing. We'll send people out to search for them immediately. I also want you to think about something else. When your family returns, we would like to share our wealth with you. Please accept this. We will be very happy if you accept it. That same day, Harry Lee sent servants out to search for Hazel's husband and son. They were soon found. From that time onwards, the two families lived near each other and became very close friends. They were always ready to help each other. As the years went by and Hazel grew older, she often told the story of the wedding box. She always ended her story with these words. Remember, life moves in circles, and happiness comes to those who help others.